Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. Welcome back, guys. And we've got Raxter 54 from Guido's Flying Circus driving his Hellcat M18 Tier 6 American TD with the turret. Used to be an unholy terror. Now it's pretty good. Somebody's shooting at Raxter, or a random shot came by him. He's going to spawn in the south in Malnovka and kind of come up here and build himself a nest right here. Raxter is learning how to be, I think, a little more aggressive and learning how to read the battles. So that's something we've been working on with him here. So we got another replay of his. Turns out to be a good replay, but it's kind of interesting how we get there, and that's what we're going to talk about on this particular video, is reacting to the flow, especially in the mid tiers, as you are learning what's going on in this game and trying to figure out how to be an active participant as opposed to more of a passive participant. So Raxter's working on that. We got the M6 moving up there. We built a nest here, and we'll start from here on positioning. Not my favorite spot. Not bad, lots of trees to knock down. One thing I don't like about knocking down the trees, Raxter, is if the arty's looking, they have an idea someone's in there. And it's a small thing, but every little small thing, every little small piece of information that you give them that they can collect is information against you. So we see this T-67, takes a while to line up this guy, and then we miss. I'm going to note one thing real quick. We'll get to positioning again just a minute because we really sit here for a very long time. And this is apparent throughout the video. I think somebody else actually mentioned it on the channel. I think it was actually your video that they mentioned it about. If not, it's basically the same thing. I'm a little bit curious what's going on with your mouse settings. You know, sometimes older gamers, I'm making an assumption here, the name is Raxter 54. Often that's a year that people were born. So unknown if that's true here. Or if you're an older gamer like I am. Sometimes, you know, the reactions and the hands and stuff don't work as well. Or potentially it's a mouse thing, an equipment thing. If you've got a crummy mouse or you've got a rig that doesn't run the game very well, I'm noticing about a 41 FPS, not great, but decent. The parentheses I think are mine, but I don't remember how that works. But in any event, for whatever the reason is, it's a little bit herky-jerky on there. And sometimes that's just the way it is, based on ourselves and the rig and the connection we have, yada yada. But if there is anything that you can control in there, like increasing maybe the sensitivity of your mouse, because sometimes it looks like you're sweeping the mouse multiple times to get somewhere, which is going to make the sensitivity very low. Now you don't want it so high that it's hard to control. I've had mine too high at times, and I probably have mine a little lower than most gamers do. But this isn't really an FPS in that you need this very fast reaction to your mouse, but you can also have it too slow. So obviously you don't need any personal information. If it's something you can work on or control, I would probably try to do that, because at times it does limit your ability to lay the gun on where you're trying to shoot. The other thing I would work on is paying a little more attention to the mini-map, and that's what we're going to talk about as we go as far as positioning goes. Now let's just pause here, because this is what we're going to do, and take a look. You're in a Hellcat, so you really don't want to run straight up there and face a KV-2 and a Churchill and an M6 into artillery. So I'm quite happy that you didn't go up the hill, even though you are one of the top tier with one of the best guns in the game. But so the question then becomes, all right, Guido, that's fine. How do I get my gun in the game? Well, it's positioning. You got to put it somewhere where it can shoot. One thing you got going on that you didn't notice, and this gets to the mini-map, is that a Cromwell has zinged up underneath right here. Now, I like this bush. If I can get this thing to zoom out. I'm going to have to mess around with this. Hold on, guys. There we go. I like this bush over here. And right there. That guy right there. That's a great spot for a Hellcat. Now, you do have to be careful, because if you shoot in there, you're going to have to immediately back off, because you will be spotted. You do have to be careful about showing yourself on that little opening there, and when you approach, coming up through here, because sometimes scouts will be down in these bushes. But this is a much better bush for getting shots on guys on the side of guys over here, and for shooting guys back here. This position is okay, but you're really relying on the enemy team walking into you. And this is where you start moving from, you know, learning the game to becoming a decent player, to becoming a more offensive, aggressive player, and becoming better at the game by understanding positioning and when I need to move out of a spot. It was probably an okay spot to begin with to see if a couple shots came your way, but you needed to be moving a long time ago. And I'd have gone down to that bush. Once the T-50 bailed out of there, I'd have put myself right there, because right now you're sort of just sitting here waiting for people to show up. Now, your team is winning, not winning, but doing okay. And unfortunately, they're doing it without you, because you really haven't taken any shots that mattered yet. So down goes the Cromwell. T-50 did some nice work on him. The guys on the hill are now starting to make a little comeback. They've dropped the KV-2R and the M6 and the Cromwell, and those are 3 great kills. Now they're working over this Churchill a little bit up here, trying to get rid of him. Although I think, no, it's the other Churchill that ends up living because he never comes up. The Churchill 1. They're going to eventually get rid of this Churchill 7 as they gang tackle him. So now let's talk about that again, positioning-wise, because once your guys started winning up there, you had 2 options. Go down here and get yourself on this promontory and start looking for maybe some shots. What's probably happening is these dudes who are down here are shooting up at your guys, which means their camo is going to get worse. And if you're up here with those binocs cooking, you may actually catch one of them shooting, even if they're in a bush, and you might get some shots on them. So that's what I'm talking about. You've got to get your gun in the game. Right now, you're not in a position to do so. The only way you get your gun in the game is if somebody comes up and over this ridge right here, foolishly. All right? And that's fine, but you can't count on that. Counting on the enemy to do something wrong as your game plan is, in general, a bad game plan. Sometimes it's all you've got, noted, but right now, you need to be more aggressive getting in there and helping your team. So I talked about that promontory. The other option was quite a while ago, once you started winning up top and they had many fewer guns, this is a fast tank, chogi on up to the northeast and help your guys clean up what's up there. That's what I would have definitely been looking for in this game. I might have gone to that promontory I talked about, sat there for a minute and looked for some shots. And once I notice my guys are winning up north, that's when I roll up there and add my gun, the weight of my gun, and maybe preserve some of my dudes' hit points. And I might have even done it, to be quite honest. Another position right here is right here initially for a Hellcat. Let that fight develop a little bit. If you're winning, get your bum up there. If you lose, then you're here to start cleaning them up as they come south. Okay, the super aggressive is just to have gone up with your buddies, throw your gun in the game and see what you can do. All right, not really recommended at your skill level with this tank right here because it's so soft, but that is an option. But I think this was a better position right here at about E0 to start with, or maybe even come to the promontory, look for early shots, swing over to E7 or E0, sorry, I called it E7, over to E0, and then push up when you started to win and add your weight. Any of those would have been better than sitting right here in this nest that you've built. This was a question Night Dog brought up a while ago. You know, how much do we go to a position vice fight the game or the position we find ourselves in? Now, you get a opportunity there. Unfortunately, you started to move. That's my trick right there. I start to move as soon as they show up. Very surprised he didn't get spotted right there. That actually blew my mind. He must have absolutely terrible crew. And you'll find that at low tier sometimes. Nice job just aiming in there. And this is what I was talking about earlier. All right, you're gathering some damage, but it's just somebody being very silly and driving in here. And that will happen sometimes, especially when you haven't been seen at all in the game. They have zero idea that you're there, other than they already might have seen trees go down. So you take him out. That's a good kill. Now what, right? This is something I ask people a lot. All right, fine, good job. You got him. Now what? What are you going to do? Well, we're going to sit here, and I think that's the wrong answer. I would have gone up to that middle, to that bush, and taken a peek. Or even better, gone to that promontory I talked about. That's a very controlling spot right there, right now. Your guys have won up top, okay? There's certainly dudes hanging out right here. Somebody needs to be up here and provide some crossfire on some of these guys moving around and pressure the team just a little bit. One of them takes a hit in the side, they're going to change what they're doing a little bit. Right now, they're all just sort of staring at your guys up on the hill. And I actually had my camera away from what you were doing, and here we are. We're just still hanging out. All right, and again, it sounds a little harsh what I'm saying, but it's just the truth. At this point, you're just sitting there. T-50 goes in. He's got lights. You're not even looking, right? So there's another example. He had a light over there, and you'd have had shots if you'd have been on the promontory, or a much better chance at it. And it looks like finally we move forward, but unfortunately your scout just died. Right? He pushed in, zero support. You'd have had a shot on that Churchill right there, more than likely. And nothing. We got nothing. All right, good. So now we're there. Not a bad plan. Hang out here with your binocs, but the problem is I'm out of scouts. And my E2 is way down the south. My Excelsior is way down in the south. I have a T-34 who has shown no inclination to be aggressive. And now my Heavy's coming off the hill. And that is really worrisome to me right there. The Heavy coming off the hill is potentially giving them the hill if they figure out that nobody's up there. And you've changed from what was a big advantage to your team into an advantage to their team if they figure it out. Now the E2 and Excelsior are pushing in the south, and we got a real big problem because we're really just peanut butter spread across this map. We find the Nashorn foolishly driving out in the open. He takes one hit, nicely done. Man, I'd have probably backed off that hill as soon as I shot, and if I didn't get lit, come back up. And now we know where the Nashorn is, right? Nashorn's pushing in, and we're very passively going to sit here and hope he comes up and over. And what are the odds he comes up and over after having got hit by an invisible Hellcat? I think it's not very good. If he does, he's probably got friends. If he does, he's probably got friends. I'd have bailed off of this point, headed back into the bushes, and gone up the hill. Because now I've got the Nashorn down in the middle in the open, but I need some high ground, the ability to see him. You could, in fact, he just does something very foolish right there, which was kind of funny. I said he wouldn't do it, but he did it. Now he backs off, and the LEFH is trying to take him. The poor LEFH has a hard time hitting this guy. He's got 4 kills already, so he's done some big work for your team. All right, let's pause this for a second and analyze what's going on. I'm anchoring the bush right here. That's good. The T-34 has fallen back over to that rock. The KV-85 is going I don't know where. And the Excelsior and the M4A3E2 are down in that little notch, that swale over there near their cap, which is completely exposed. Where do you think all of their tanks are right now? They more than likely know the Excelsior and the E2 are over there because they saw them pushing in, killing their guys as they went. They're all looking at those guys. So we need to provide some pressure, some relief to the A3, E2, and the Excelsior. So either move up to, let's see if I can get this going, move up to this bush and take a peek and maybe get a shot. A more aggressive move would be down the bottom right here, drive along and come up into this little ditch. Only problem with that is that's relatively exposed to a counter push by them because you don't have anybody up top keeping them honest. But it may not be easy for them to figure that out. That will get you spotted, and you are soft in their artillery. So that's the super aggressive move. The not as aggressive move is to come over here and see if you can sneak up behind one of these bushes and pop the Nashorn or anybody else goofing around over here. The other option is to bail all the way back here into those bushes, go up the zero line, come up top, and use these top bushes. With those binocs, that's my favorite idea right there. And start looking down in here and see if you can just start picking guys off. The Hellcat has a ton of mobility. Use it, especially this part of the game, right? There's a lot less guns in the game, so I have a much more permissive environment to move around. Hellcat's great as a camo sniper, it really is, but you need to have shots. And right now, this is the point where you've got to start providing them. Notice how they're shooting. There's somebody that sees them clearly. This was a I'm going to call it a good shot, but obviously RNG had a huge hand in that, and that was a good kill, taking that guy down. But they're shooting at your buddies. And now the Excelsior is clicking on the T-34. You know, frankly, Excelsior guy, you shouldn't even be there. I don't know why you would have pushed across there. That was ridiculous. But they're trapped at this point. Now everybody's clicking. He's like, yeah, we're taking fire. And that should be your clue there, Raxter. We got to get in there and relieve them. So any of those 3 options are still viable that I just gave you. Think about how long it's been since I said that. You could have been up on top shooting at them by now. So now we're going to do a little move, and oh, look at this. The Nashorn actually shows himself. And unfortunately, we don't quite kill him. That's a bummer. He backs out. LEFH takes a shot. And now we're going to hang out. Again, I would have got some high ground and looked, because more than likely, some of his buddies are moving up with him at this point. Lots of clicking, lots of clicky, clicky, click. I would use that little bush to push up and look. Now, you may get proxy lit. There goes your 2 buds. You may get proxy lit. And at this point, I would have fallen back into the bushes, because now we've lost map control. They're going to be able to swing all their forces towards us, and this is a very exposed position. If they come up and over, you won't last very long. You do have some guys behind you helping you, but there are 2 artillery, so I'd have fallen further back. You have all kinds of vision control with your binocs, but this close to them, you really don't. And we're going to come up here, and unfortunately, I don't know why, but we kind of come up not looking to use that bush. You're very lucky there wasn't anybody by the church, actually, because you're up and over. The Nashorn gets lit. Taking a look at him, trying to maybe get a shot. shoot in there to knock some stuff down. There's so much stuff in there, little sheds and things. It's very difficult to blast through things and get a shot. And this just makes me feel like we're very indecisive right now. We're just sitting out in the open. The good news is this guy just rolls up. And then you decide to go right after him, and holy cow, there's everybody. We drive in. Very, very lucky we don't die right here. The ELC takes forever to reload. You take another hit. Man, I would have stopped backing out right there. As soon as I saw him die, I'd have just driven forward, turned right, and headed on out of here. You know, it's time to get out and preserve as many hit points as we can. I cannot believe you ended up living here. But it did work out for you. Take a hit. Nice shot backing up. And holy cow, we're still... Fixing your driver would help out. That's why you're moving so slow. It's a slow backing tank anyway. And just really, honestly, incredibly lucky we didn't die right here. And now it's time to fix the driver and get out. Just fix the driver, fall back. You've got an advantage now, but you're at 22 hit points. You're just asking for the artillery to hit you right here. Keeping yourself kind of proxy lit. Thankfully, you're not quite. Looks like he's gone. Now we go up here, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. He's going to get proxy lit and killed by the arty. Very lucky right there. Scooting back and forth. There you go. You fixed your driver. That's a good thing. Again, fall back. Just go and go up around the top. Of course, we're out of time now, aren't we? And that may be part of what you're looking at. You're at 2 minutes. And this is what passive gameplay kind of causes. You get to a time crunch at the end, and then you have less options, and you've got to take riskier approaches and make riskier moves to try to win this thing. 34 moves up. So in this case then, get up here to this bush, shift a little to the right, and use as much of that bush as possible to come up and look that way. Which is what I thought you were doing here, but you don't quite. Looks like you shift. I think you shift a little right. There you go. See how you're exposed, though, to those trees right here? You didn't use the bush. I'd have come around here and put myself right about there. But what's interesting is the 43's gone all the way over there. There's that mini-map awareness. You sort of miss that he shows up. He must have a terrible crew because he just didn't see you. Down he goes. The Churchill's taking shots. Come up here and look for that. Churchill dies. Very good, and we're down to Artie. So fantastic. I'm going to push in, look for Artie. We have a minute 13 to make this thing happen. This is a photo finish, folks. Pretty nice job. We'll talk about it when we get there. He actually finds the bishop, catches him out right about here. There's that mini-map awareness. There he is. Yep, turn, turn, turn. Go get him. I'd have come right up and over this hill. Not really sure why you went around the long way. He's busy getting shot by other people. We come over here. Put a pop into him, somebody else kills him, and then guess what? The other arty is on the cap. We're going to come around this way. We don't really have time to get towards the cap. I might have tried. I'm going to try to choke you over there and try to light this guy up, but we're going to do it this way. So we'll take a look. We'll say, all right, where do we think this guy is? Well, I have an idea of where I'd shoot first. There's only one bush on that cap, as I recall, and it's just to the right of where you're aiming. So we take 2 shots. We're down to 16 seconds. Kind of looking at what's going on. All right, what are we going to do? Well, we'll just shoot in the bush. And look at that. There he was. 2,397 damage. 4 kills for Raxter. Pulls it out in the end. You sent me the video, said, hey, this was an ace tanker. Did pretty well. Let me know what I could do better. And sometimes on these really good glove save games, these are some of the best ones to look at to analyze your gameplay, because the question is not necessarily, hey, should I have shot into that bush or somewhere else at the end? It's what happened early on. How come we got to this point where it took this glove save? You know, I got 2,397 damage, but what if I'd got 1,500 damage earlier and I had another 3 tanks alive because I was actually actively playing the game? To me, that's the natural or most important question there. So you've got some solid fundamentals, Raxter, to build on. I think your biggest thing is maybe reading the battle a little bit better and trying to get your gun in position a little bit earlier. Foot stomp here. Obviously, be careful about YOLOing too much, right? Or overextending. And to some extent, you just have to start trying that. what happens is people learn early that when you push out in front, you die. So the natural inclination is to fall back and be much more passive. This is the standard way that a World of Tanks player, most World of Tanks players, not me, because I just continually YOLO until I figured it out, but most World of Tanks players go through. They get hammered early in their career, they learn to hang back, they do more damage doing so, but it stunts their ability to work mid to late game because they don't move very much. So you're in this position now where you want to try to learn how to move out of this more passive, okay, I can survive to late game, but I didn't really do much early on to do so, and I have a hard time in the mid to late game doing anything effective. Yeah, I've got my hit points, but I haven't done any damage, and we're always kind of on our back heel when we get to that point. And now what you're trying to learn is to read the battle a little bit better, get your gun into the game earlier, not YOLO, but get your gun into the game earlier so that you're a little more effective, you maintain a little bit more of your friendly hit points because you're up there helping, and then the late game becomes a little bit easier in regards to having enough hit points around, and then it's just a matter of doing it. You've got to get in there and figure out, all right, how do I maneuver late game? How do I dig guys out of camping positions and all of that? That'll come later, but right now I think your big thing that you should focus on is getting your gun in the game a little bit earlier. And just keep creeping it a little bit forward. And you know, you'll get spanked one time, 10 times, 100 times, where you find out, I went too far. That's not a good bush to go to, or that's not a position to go to. But if you don't do it, if you don't try it, you're never going to learn it. Never going to learn it. All right, man. Thanks for sending that in. I thought that was a really good one for everybody. I like to feature the mid to lower tiers on occasion because that's where a lot of you guys are. You're grinding through tanks, trying to learn the game, and that's a good place for people to learn. All right, man. That's all I've got. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Throw me a sub if you can, and we will see you.